Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Apoorv Malik, and I welcome you all in today's webinar on behalf of TNV Academy. First of all, let me briefly introduce our speaker of the day. For today's webinar, we are glad to have Mr. Ajay Bajpai with us as the guest speaker. The topic with which he is here today with all of us is role of governing body or governing committee as per clause 9.4 of ISO 37001 Anti-Bribery Management System. This is a topic in which we all must be deeply interested as this standard is now widely used among organizations to help eradicate the malpractice of bribery. Mr. Ajay Bajpai has audited several organizations for ISO 37001 standard and has assisted many others in implementation of the standard within their organizations. Our distinguished speaker, Mr. Ajay Bajpai, has done his bachelor's in engineering in metallurgy stream. He is also a lead auditor in ISO 9001, 14001, 45001, 37001, 22000, 27001, 13485, 22301, and 50001 standards respectively. He has an industrial experience of around 38 plus years in field of manufacturing, quality control, quality assurance, design services, and technical testing. He has been imparting training to a number of organizations, entrepreneurs, and individuals on various topics related to ISO terminologies and how ISO standards are implemented within organizations. It was just a brief introduction of our guest speaker today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Ajay Bajpai. I may request Mr. Ajay Bajpai now to please take over and start the webinar.
Thank you very much, Apoorv, and I welcome all the team members who will be joining me today into these discussions. I always appreciate that we can discuss as much as to learn from these kind of webinars. Discussions makes the mind of the individuals clear because many of the standards and many of the requirements are getting developed as we are progressing toward ISO 9000 series of standards. So 37001 has also been one of the latest standards which has been added into the series of ISO 9000, and into that the role of governing body, if any required, or any other committee or top management committee, is again very critical with respect to the development of the ABMS system and the benefits the organization can achieve, and the review system can be done effectively. It gets linked to clause 9.3.2, 9.4, and particularly I would say A5. There are many organizations and trainers and auditors who would not like to, really go beyond the clause 10. I always appreciate and tell them into the training that please look into the annexures of the standards. There are detailed guidelines given into that, and lot of clarity can be there into their minds when they are reading to the annexures and links and other reference standards. The governing body is one area which is very important with respect to how the review can be done when the system is being implemented. The standard is clear. One can have a governing body name, or they can use the name of top management, or they can form some other committee, subcommittees to install a review system of the ABMS in the organization. While conducting audits, we have seen that organizations, depending upon their size, type, and the culture, they give different names. But the main aim is yes, that periodic review is conducted at least once in a year, we say. But many organizations do it once in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, depending upon the development of the system when they start implementing the system in the organization. It is also reviewing the lot of information which is being given to the committee by the top management. If the committee is in a separate name, or if committee is going to review it in a different way, even when the name is the top management review, the inputs needs to be related to the anti-bribery management system. Also, when the implementation documentation starts, a lot of review needs to be done by the compliance function, that is done by the core committee, core team, or the top management or the governing body. So they are reviewing how the compliance of anti-bribery is being implemented into the organization. Board also can provide any other information required. We will discuss what are those other information. They may be coming as input from the statutory regulatory board, from interested parties, from the customers, from the suppliers, from the vendors, from other team members as and when may be invited or by we will see that also in the coming slides. Also, the requirement is to uh, create a good documentation system so that the summary of the review by the governing body, I will be calling it GB in short in future discussions, it is retained so that the same can be used for the internal audit review purpose, external audit review purpose, for certification purpose, and that these documents becomes a data bank for the organization for future improvement on ABS. Also, when we look at sustainable development goals, SDG as set by United Nations and as are being implemented globally, it is indicating a decent work. We say it links to decent work because if a transparent working, if open and clear and a absolutely documented working is going on, then it's called a decent work. There is no bribing, no under the table work is going on, so it's called absolutely decent and clean work. And also it adds to the economic growth because if there is no bribing situation, underhand dealings are not done, then all money of the entire globe is accounted for. It is all the white money can be utilized for the proper economical growth of the global community. But the moment the bribery situation is involved, economic growth will not be matching with the money flow because that money, naturally, we all know what is that money, the black money, the under table money. So that does not add in a positive way to the economical growth. So it gets linked to the SDG to that extent. So we go further into the introduction part with the function of the governing body. What is the function? They are reviewing the compliance function of the ABMS at planned interval, as I discussed earlier. Once in a year is a must, but it can be done more frequently and on ad hoc basis also, as and when required, as and when any situation is arising out of the implementation of the management system. It is also reviewing the functions of top management or top management itself become a part of it, maybe a subcommittee, and they review it, or any other suitable committee can also be formed to give inputs to the ABMS system with respect to the governing body functions. Also, this review can be done by the effective utilization of a business associate of the particular organization. But we need to see that the business associate is having the knowledge, he understands the concepts of bribery management system, because what we have seen in last several years and decades, that bribing was there, bribing is there, and bribing up to some extent will be there. That's what has been discussed across the globe. But aim is to understand the links of it, understand the implication and implementation of it, and see how best we can reduce and how best we can control it so that it does not really make a greater impact onto the organization working, and we keep on moving in the positive direction with respect to the control on ABMS function and ABMS review. So as appropriate, we are free to use a business associate also so that he can appropriately communicate and give feedbacks to the respective top management of the organization so that the improvement can be brought into ABMS. We go further. What are the desired results? Desired results of governing body function is that yes, concepts and importance of reporting and objectives are understood within the organization and particularly the GB members and the GB function. Once they are trained, the concept is clear. What is the meaning of bribery? What is bribery? Who and how bribery is being happening, where it is happening, how it can be controlled, what are the reporting methods, and what are the GB objectives of the organization, to what extent they want to control it, because there are limitation activities which can be controlled. There are direct and indirect various kind of briberies are seen into organization, which we see very clearly when we go into the details into the depth of the system into third party auditing. We understand that it very well. So same concept we want the organization and GB members to understand. The GB functions also give the assurance that yes, 37,001 standard system is implemented and the results can be achieved, and the requirements of internal external customers and all the interested parties are met with. Then we are coming out with some good report system of the GB function, and we always believe these should be reported in a smart way, language meaningful, logical, and the sufficient powers into this reporting system, in this review system, and we believe that the members of the GB naturally comes from the top management, so they will be defined at respective and sufficient powers when they are going to implement the anti-bribery management system into the organization, because without sufficient powers they cannot implement the system. So once they have to break the various walls, once they have to go into the depth of the system and take necessary effective actions, they need sufficient powers to exercise. Also, GB needs to have a genuine commitment to prevent, detect, and respond to the bribery in relation of the organization business or activity. Ultimate aim is to see yes that business is progressing. So by controlling this bribery management system, commitment needs to be shown by the management and the top management and the GB members that yes, we are meaning the business and activity are moving in a direction that yes, bribing is under control, profitability is increasing because we have reduced or controlled the bribery to by 1 or 2% in the next 6 months. So the activities are on positively that way. Also, they are supporting, because unless the top management is willing, ABMS cannot be implemented, that we know. So the management genuine intent of implementation is supported by GB functions, and they are designing ultimately the GB function and the objectives and reporting in such a way so that the detection mode is on. They can get into investigation and they can find out what had been going wrong and how to respond to a particular situation of bribery. It is not easy to handle a bribery situation just like that unless we involve the GB and the top management and the required and desired members to see that we can get into analytical mode and we can find out the best solution to handle with that kind of a bribery situation. Now we need to get into a planning mode. We need to plan the report formats. We need to conduct the meetings. Who will be taking part into the meeting? What is the agenda, and so on. All these things need to be brought through the planning action of the governing body. Governing body members needs to be specifically trained. In some of the third party audits, we have seen that the training was not to the desired level with respect to the governing body and top management and board of directors and the auditors and implementers. Those who are going to conduct the internal audit or those who are going to be part of second party audit, maybe sometimes when they go for the audit of supplier or vendor, or they utilize a third party organization for conducting a anti-bribery management system audit involving the supply chain activity. So auditors, implementers also needs to be adequately trained for the governing body roles, anti-bribery management activities, and top management roles, so that they can play their roles effectively into the review system, and they know what to review, when to review, how to report that. So effective training is required. Various organizations go for effective displays physically and websites display on their intention of anti-bribery, so that their concepts are very clear. Into many discussions and situations comes, yes, there are various kind of bribing is going on. So unless it is reflected, unless it is known to the teams which are related with the organization and the interested party, how they will take effective action so that it is brought to the surface, it is brought to the knowledge of GB, and it is brought to the knowledge of the top management, and then actions can be taken. And by this kind of reflection also, it works as a sort of alarm to those who have been involved into the bribing activities here and there. They also feel that yes, the organization team is going for a anti-bribery management system. So their actions also move towards a control direction. They sort of a fear or control mechanism starts into their mental operations. Roles and responsibilities needs to be defined, they need to be communicated so that they are known to the various functions and they know what are their authority, what role they need to play to the GB functions. They also take the input from various kind of software, SAP, ERP available, and they do sort of gelling and get mixed with the software and not going separately. Any management system, particularly ABMS, when it is going and developed with the help of various software and various other inputs, they needs to be gelled together to perform the best results. Communication within the organization and all interested parties as required. We always say as required is very important. Need not to do unwanted, unnecessary communication where it is not desired. A party is not supposed to get a communication with respect to GB or ABMS system. Why he should get it? He should get only the desired and required information. So planning is a key part of the governing body functions. Then we get into action plan and implementation of GB functions. Now we have the procedures, we have got the objective, we have understood the risk associated with bribery management system. So we need to implement. Now after documentation, after communication, the system start running into the organization. ABMS policies, ABMS procedure with respect to GB functions are on. And then we start getting into a monitoring mode. All these processes and plans with respect to GB objectives are requiring a monitoring so that we can update the drafted documents. Initially, the organization will be drafting the policy. So the drafting after monitoring of the processes and plans are getting further fine-tuned and documents are getting into the final stage and final implementation of processes is on. We also do the analysis of GB knowledge, the objectives and risk and opportunities along with the report, because now the system is on, implementation is on. So the reports are coming. So reports needs to be analyzed with respect to the effective implementation being done. And then we always need to keep on updating the charts in the organization. Various GB chart, various functions are there, tracking is being done. So reporting, monitoring and implementation and updation of the data and documents is on, so that we can see yes, ABMS is being implemented and it is being effectively reviewed by a GB function, a compliance function. So we go further into the implementation with the support of various forms, formats, register, files, folders, software, and our GB plans are being implemented. And we are seeing that effectiveness should be enhanced. Our aim is to see that yes, reporting are being done in a more effective, more and more effective way. So enhance the effectiveness of OK reporting means ABMS is being effective and bribery is coming under control and profitability is increased. So bribery is reduced by 1 or 2 or 3.5% in next 6 months or 9 months. And then again we repeat this updation of data. Updation of data with respect to what we have documented and what is actually being implemented is of a key importance. Because if we do not update the data, we do not update the charts and format with respect to the revised document, with respect to the revised objective, then we fail into our objective of improvement through ABMS and GB functions. We always believe in accurate and precise calculation. Implementation is done fine, but then it needs to have a support of correct calculations, correct implementation of mathematical counts, mathematical points, the charts, the P chart, N chart, various functions will give you values, the percentage figures. Without that, we do not understand what is happening into the organizations. When we go to many organizations for third party audit, they will say, yes, sir, bribing is under good control. We don't understand this good or bad control. We understand 1%, 2.5%, 3.1%, 0.001%. So they give the calculations to show us that yes, demonstrate the ABMS is on and GB has been effectively utilizing. In last 3 months, they have conducted 2 meetings at an interval of 1.5 months each, and they have effectively reviewed 98% of the implementation of the governing body, and here are the results in front. So now let's move on to see that we can reach 98.2%. So that is the utilization of the correct, accurate and precise calculations coming out of mathematical minds and not by feelings and thoughts and by yes it is good or it is bad, it is very good, it is not very good. So we don't accept all this into GB functions, so that the improvements are being seen with the help of PDCA and various management principles to give data and charge tools. So next line says review of data, facts and figures, and we always say that involvement of all, anybody and everybody in the organization can give a very good input and very good feedback onto the GB functions and bribery and compliance review. It can be a peon who's into the organization when two managers are having a dealing with somebody. It is a supplier who has visited. It is the security person who can give lot of inputs, whether the visitor was there in the right time or he entered into wrong compromised time. Who all were there? Were they in a compromising situation? So all these situations are there, which once put into a data, facts and figures, and when we are utilizing the feedback system, when we involve the team of all organizational roles and responsibilities put into it with the interested parties into it, then we really are able to affect the GB function and compliance function effectively. Now we reach the analysis and future action. So the implementation has been done, documentation is being revived, and ABMS function is going on effectively. And we, as an organization, feel yes, we are under a situation of control. We feel that, but then we need to do analysis, and we need to get into effective review system of data analysis. So need to study the GB policy, objective charts in small groups and cross-functional teams by involvement of depending upon the desired parties and the desired interested parties. We do a review and we understand what is the direction. Are we able to meet the objectives in a positive way? Are our smart GB objectives are going on a positive trend, or we are having a negative trend? So all this needs to be studied so that we can further update and further we will get into the documentation review and approval system to update our procedures, data, our objective charts, our work instructions, our GB setups, our GB organization responsibilities. It is the data which gives us all this information. So now the data is there. So understand the trend. We get into different types of techniques, SPC, SQC techniques, different type of cause and effect analysis, Pareto analysis. They give us how to do the analysis of data and what way the facts and direction and trends are coming out of the data analysis. Depending upon that, we can update, we can make more objectives, we can reduce number of objectives, we can have more meetings, we can have less meetings. we can involve more kind of personnel, we can reduce the involvement of a particular type of a group into the GB or input from a particular type of a group. But all that will be brought onto the surface into the records in front of us when we are having the analysis of this huge data which has been gathered by implementation of last 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, whenever we are setting a time period for the monitoring and trend observation into the data analysis. Once all this happens, then we are getting into a effective internal auditing of GB functions and what root cause analysis, what corrective actions we are implementing, how the effectiveness is being monitored. This again needs to be conducted by trained auditors, trained and qualified auditors, in particular who understand this function of GB. What is the top management role? What are the role of subcommittees? How to utilize a business associate? How to utilize a second party or third party team into the GB functions? So if they are trained, they have a good checklist to conduct the audit of GB functions, and then they write down the non-conformity and observation reports, whatever are uh, as a result of internal audit by trained auditor who are conceptually clear, as we discussed in the beginning, that it should be conceptually clear to them what is a GB function, what is a compliance review function, what is the mode and effectiveness of the top management or committee and subcommittee when they are going to review the functions as a GB as a function. So when we do audit with that kind of concept clear of the auditor's team, then results are good. And good results mean they can show us the direction of value addition into our ABMS management system, in particular with the functioning of GB function. So now we have got the results of internal audit. We have 2 or 3 non-conformities, 5 or 6, 8, 10 observation, 5, 6 area for improvement, and some review functions for future operations reported into the non-conformity formats of GB functions, and corrective actions have been documented, are being implemented, and their effectiveness is being discussed. So now we go for a effective review into the management review meeting, where as per the agenda and as per the plan of review of GB status and function and activities, we discuss that in details with the reports on our table, on our laptops, on our computers, and then the team is discussing them into details of how we can improve upon further by compliance review function, by GB operation, so that our intent of ABMS implementation is effective and activities and operations of GB are going to be further improved upon. Time of meeting can be reduced and effectiveness can be more. That is the intent of the management review for the future audits. That is what we specifically look into when we go for, from stage 1 to stage 2 audit, stage 2 to surveillance audit, and from surveillance audits to the recertification audits. What improvements have been taken place? Is it the same GB member, same meeting, same thing is going on? No, we don't appreciate that. We want to see the continual improvement coming out of it. Members are changing, more inputs are coming, members are on rotation. That is one of the key areas is being discussed across the globe. That the same function, same team may not continue to give the better effectiveness, better results coming out of the GB functions. So rotation is becoming very, very important, particularly when we are getting into a supply chain relationship, when we are into customer CRM functions, they are of more critical importance. So now whatever we discuss by way of effective management review function with detailed analysis of the GB function status activities and NC being targeted for closings and effective review of corrective action, then we need to implement and monitor these actions. So these actions should be implemented effectively with respect to time by using the principles of SMART, by using the principles of management function, by using the principles of PDCA and different other management techniques and statistical technique. Yes, they are to be monitored so that they are not going down. Our efforts which we have made so far, we have made a lot of effort in last 8, 9, 10 months into implementation of the ABMS. So now the results are seen through a good and effective implementation and monitoring system by the team, and particularly the GB members are observing all this and they know where to attack for further improvement, how to catch the primary functions. And then finally we reach the improvement theme of the management system of ABS with the utilization of GB function. And definitely we want to see that yes, into class 10 when we go for the improvement, it is supporting by GB function. So as we have been discussing throughout these slides, and we can conclude by understanding that yes, bribing has been there, bribing is there, it will be there, that has been discussed in the globe. So we need to control it by having knowledgeable, trained, and conceptually clear members of the GB, which may be a committee, which may be a subcommittee, which can be a top management committee, which may be a part of the top management. All depends upon the size and type and culture of the organization and what product processes they have and what kind of supply chain activity they have, what kind of customer they have, what kind of customer interaction they have, and how they can utilize the organization team by effectively training them onto the concept of GB and bribing and a control mechanism for improvement of these functions. So GB functions are very, very critical for the implementation of ABMS. So the formulation, the documentation, the responsibility authority, the concept, the training is of utmost importance. Once we have understood that, then we can go for certification of ABMS system. For that, we have got various certification bodies, as we can see the links given here, and we can visit the website, we can learn more, and we can add to our knowledge, and finally we can go for the certification with the certification body, the TNV system certification private limited. So I will just run through the slides again, and so this is what we had discussed, and I will invite the team members and I'll ask Apurv if anybody has put any questions in chat, or if they want to ask any questions, we can reply and we can discuss them. Thank you.
I would request the participants, if they have any questions, they can now please ask. If you do not have any questions as of now, I would say that, we are always open to your questions. So whenever you have a question on today's topic, you can simply go to our YouTube channel and you can put your questions in the comment section of this particular video and we will be answering them for sure. So we have now come to the conclusion of this particular session. I would say that I do not find words in expressing that how fruitful this particular session was for all of us. ISO 37001 anti-bribery management system is a very unique standard and has been adapted by many organizations since its origin. So it was very heartful for us to learn about this particular topic, the role of governing body in as per ISO 37001. I can also say with much confidence that our participants must have enjoyed the context of today's webinar and it will definitely add value to their expertise and domain of work. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Mr. Ajay Bajpai, on behalf of TNV Academy for giving your valuable time and accepting our invitation to be the guest speaker for today. I also thank all the participants for taking out time from their busy schedule and joining us in the webinar today. I hope to see you all again soon. Wish you all a very best of luck on behalf of TNV Academy for all your future endeavors. Thank you once again.